Alrighty, time to talk about Paris, the food, the experience, and if it's worth it. Hey you, it's Olivia. Thank you so much for clicking in, whether you're new or returning. So happy to see you. So, I basically talk about my life, which right now means kind of budget living, international travel stories because I have been a lot of places in the world, and nursing because I'm a travel nurse. But eventually, I'm going to be taking you along for more international adventures that I have going on. But that's not today. Today, we're going to be talking about Paris. So, let's get right into it. So last week I made a whole video. I'll put it up over, I think I should point this way, over here, to talk about and give credit to a very kind taxi driver we had for the first night we came into Paris because it was a little bit of a scary experience. I'm going to skip over that part and just kind of give you the background that we were in the suburbs to begin with because, okay, don't hate me, we were going to Disney in Paris. And I know that most of my audience is probably in the United States. Maybe not for this video because I noticed that some of y'all are actually from Europe for my last couple videos where I talked about Europe. So hi, and I don't speak any other European languages besides Spanish. So hi or hola, and then I know to say bonjour, even though that was probably a terrible accent. Anyways, thanks for clicking into my video. I love the idea of having an international audience. All that aside, I'm acknowledging that a majority of my viewers are probably from the US and or Canada, and so y'all are probably like, why would you go to Paris just to go to Disney? And I'm not gonna lie, for me, I probably wouldn't have done it if I was just me or with other United States people, but my friend and travel companion Angel is from Peru, and the closest Disney for him is in the States, which is not necessarily easy to go to, even for tourism, when you're from a Latin American country. So, yeah, we kind of went to Disney in Paris for 2 days for Angel. And we did 2 days because I think they have like two different parks. And I'm like, okay, well, we're not even gonna, there's no way we can do two parks in one day, especially because neither of us have really been to Disney. And I know Disney is like a whole animal. One thing we did know about Disney though was that the food is hecka overpriced. So we actually went to Aldi's, which was funny because that's a brand I know back in the States too, although I think they're originally European, they're German, right? Anyways, we went there and got a bunch of snacks and stuff that we could pack into a bag and bring in with us to Disney in Paris. And Disney in Paris was, I mean, it was Disney. If you know anything about Disney, I'll see if maybe as I'm continuing to talk about it a little bit, I can put up like, pictures and videos. It was cute. I felt like I had been transported back to the States. It was kind of trippy to me. Like they even had a Five Guys, if you know what that is. But honestly, I don't have too much to say about Disney in Paris because also I was only there for one day. I mean, it was cool. We got to stay for the fireworks. Again, it was more for my friend than for me. So I'm happy that he got to have that experience and it was fun to ride the roller coasters. But I feel like most of my audience probably is pretty familiar with Disney and everything. So we probably don't have to say too much about it. Also, I can't really give a comparison to Disney in Paris and Disney here because I've never been to Disney here. So just know, if you've done Disney here, unless you're just like an avid Disney fan, no need to go to the one in Paris. I mentioned that I only went for one day even though we had two planned, and that's because the second day I actually started to get sick, which was frustrating because that was only our first week traveling. We were going into the second week and I'm like, dang it, I'm already getting sick. And I just remembered from when I took an international trip with my nursing school, like years before, how I had started to get sick too. I think it's those international charter flights that are over the ocean. Something about them always get me a little bit sick. Let me know down in the comments below if that's how it is for you. But anyways, my instructor, when she noticed this happening to me, as a nurse and a mom, she told me, look, you have to rest and lose this day because otherwise you're going to get sicker and you're going to lose more days from being so sick. So I told Angel the same thing. I'm like, look, I already know what I need to do. I need to sleep in and rest in bed. You go on and do the second park. I'm sorry I can't come with you. And he was very sweet and understanding about it. Props to you, Angel. Gracias. And so I just spent my second day in Paris resting. But then it was time to go to the city. Alright, so let's talk about my hostel first. Actually, shout out to Hostel World. They're an app for finding hostels and also just more budget side friendly hotels. You should totally check them out. I'm not sponsored or anything, it's just a recommendation. But anyways, they save my hostel history since like forever, so I can still tell you that we stayed at St. Christopher's Inn, Garden du Nord, for it looks like we stayed for 2 nights. So, we had 2 nights in the proper city of Paris. And, it was a hostel. We actually had our own private bathroom, so that's always great. Angel, even though he is very budget savvy, always wants a private room with that where he can like lock his things and feel a little more secure, especially because he tends to travel with a lot of photography equipment that's pretty valuable. So that's one thing that we don't 100% skimp on. We always make sure that we have a private room. The private bathroom is just a plus, though. We are okay with communal bathrooms. The bathroom was a little bit weird, though, because it had this, like, wedge step thing that would get so wet and dangerous. And actually, Angel fell over and, like, I think he cut his elbow open or something. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a crazy start to everything. Breakfast wasn't included, but it almost never is in hostels. And we did have a cute little coffee maker with some included coffee. Also, my friend who I'd gone to Miami with had given me some packets of like Vietnamese white coffee that I made for us. So we had some Vietnamese white instant coffee in Paris for our first morning in the city. That was great. But that's pretty much our hostel. Let's go ahead and start talking about the attractions. So, of course, the Eiffel Tower was the star of the show. Angel and I were kind of in our Instagram phase, so we both wanted really great photo shoots. I was so into it that I went Parisian thrift shopping. We spent like a solid 1 or 2 hours finding me a really cute red coat to wear and a little beret. The beret was much easier than the red coat. But I'll put some pictures up here so you can see some of the great shots I got. We went to the Eiffel Tower site like 3 different times trying to get the perfect shot in day and night. It is beautiful when it glitters. I forget if it's like, I think it's the top of every hour or something like that. I'll try to put that up there too. I called my mom. I think I actually managed to call her when it was glimmering, so that was beautiful. And I remember there was one time when we were out doing our Eiffel Tower shoots that this man came by selling champagne, and I was just like, you know what, whatever, because it was a whole sealed bottle. So we just got ourselves a bottle of champagne, and I have pictures of myself sitting at a fountain a little bit outside the Eiffel Tower drinking champagne. It was the vibe, and I felt so glamorous, and I definitely recommend that part. Although there are some people you have to watch out for around the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to break that into another section though, so stay tuned. Oh my gosh, and if you have been around here with me for a long while, you've seen my London video, which was one of the first videos I ever posted. But basically, back when I was on an international study trip in London for nursing school, I had the opportunity to go to Paris, and I really wanted to see Notre Dame, but I told myself, no, you'll get to go later. And I don't know if you know, but you probably do if you're interested in Paris, that there was a horrible fire in Notre Dame at the beginning of, I think it was 2019. And I was like, you know what, they've had some time to recover. Maybe I can go to Notre Dame while we're here in 2022. But we went to the cathedral site and it was still closed. It's closed until 2025. At least that was what the sign said when I went, which I was just so shocked. But it makes sense because it's such a ancient piece of architecture, and I understand that they're trying their best to reconstruct it in a way that does it justice. But I'm not gonna lie, I was so disappointed. And I remember we were wandering around asking the locals, and they were all like, no, that's closed for another like 3 years. And we were just like, oh. So we ate some overpriced croissants. We'll talk about the food in a little bit more in depth here in the next section. But the croissants by Notre Dame, even with it being closed, are ridiculously overpriced. Don't eat within like 2 or 3 blocks of the major attractions, please. It's gonna be just tourist trappy overpriced situation. So we didn't just see the Eiffel Tower. With our 2 nights that we had, we also managed to go to the Louvre, and we got to see the, I think in English it's called the Arch of Triumph. We were talking about it more in Spanish, so Arco de Triunfo, no? Triunfo, something like that. Anyways, We just like photo shooted outside of there, and it was really cute because when we went to the Louvre, we were actually meeting up with one of my friends from early college who happened to be in Paris at the same time. So, and she's Mexican, so my friend Angel and her got to be chatting and everything, and it was kind of refreshing for him to see another Latino face in Paris. And we went out and we ate together afterwards and took some photo shoots by the arch. But yeah, that's the main thing I remember about the arch, honestly, is that it started raining and my friend and I took photo shoots together. And honestly, that's about all the attractions we squeezed in. We probably could have done more if we weren't trying so hard to do photo shoots and spending a lot of time with that. But for me, it was worth it. I'm really happy with the photos and memories I have. I didn't want to end on a totally negative note, so we're going to talk about scammers before we talk about food, because I feel like scammers and pickpocketing is definitely a theme that we see pretty often when people talk about Paris. And I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a thing. We saw a guy get pickpocketed right, basically, not right in front of us, but right across the way from us when we were in the subway at one point. And you do have to be careful, but as long as you're taking the same precautions you normally would in big cities, especially if you've ever been to Latin America, if you know, you should be fine as far as that's concerned. There's also straight up scammers, and they are definitely most common in the heavy tourist areas, especially like, the Eiffel Tower and things like that. People who are trying to take pictures for you, which it's always hard to tell what is real and what isn't, I just would recommend don't go for it. And then the people who are wandering around acting like they're wanting you to sign a petition, people trying to put bracelets on you. And I feel like they come up with a new thing every other second. So I would definitely, what we did was we looked up channels of people, actually we went to YouTube, yeah, and we just looked up common scams in Paris 2022. I would recommend doing that for whatever year you're planning to go, because they come up with something new all the time, and this just helps you be able to be aware and looking out for it. We still fell victim to a scam though. So what happened was that we were coming back from the Eiffel Tower one time and we were trying to get to dinner. And there was a lady who was doing like almost like a tuk-tuk style, which that's like, an open cart with two wheels that's pulled by a motorbike. But she was doing it on a bike, and she asked us, oh, hey, do you want to go to whatever street? And that was kind of where we were trying to get down to. And we were just like, okay. And she said, yeah, it's 15 euros. She just said 15 euros. And we're like, okay. So we get in. Angel, because I was asking Angel too, because he's more budget savvy. He's just like, okay, whatever, because he was on the phone with his mom or just getting off the phone with her. And he was just like, that sounds fun. It's a little experience thing. Well, we ride for about 10 minutes, I'm taking videos because it's cool to be pulled in a cart by somebody in a bicycle. Then we get out and she says, okay, 30 euros. And we were like, no, you said 15. She said 15 per person. And we were so irritated. But then she pulls out this little paper and she's like, 30. And she was showing us all the things. She's like, this is just the rates. It has to be 15 per person, so it's 30 for both. And we realized we weren't going to be able to really get out of it. We'd argued with her for a solid 5 minutes, and there was a language barrier, or I don't know how much of it was an actual language barrier versus she was putting up one. But in any case, eventually we realized we were just going to need to pay the 30 euros. So Angel, begrudgingly puts the money over, and he is like just on top of this woman, being like, you give me all the change. Because at this point, we didn't trust her at all. So yeah, we got scammed out of 15 euros in Paris, but there are worse things, right? We managed to avoid getting pickpocketed or any other major scams, at least. So yeah, watch out for the ladies on the little bicycle carts. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the food. So, like I talked about in a previous section, I would not recommend eating anywhere too close to the touristy areas because, for one, if you're looking for authentic food, it's probably not going to be there. It's going to be like super stereotypical, tourist oriented, and it's going to be overpriced because it's in the tourist trap areas. Honestly, I feel like we didn't really have that many food experiences that were memorable because we were there for such a short period of time. But we did do the whole frog legs and snails thing, and Angel was so freaked out. I had actually already had both because, fun fact, even though I can't speak a lick of French, I did take French when I was younger, like young. And one of the cultural experiences we did was eating snails. And as somebody who grew up with a mom from Louisiana, I have had stuff like, frog legs and alligator before. But it was fun sharing that experience in Paris with one of my friends. The waitress at that restaurant was a little bit scammy with us too, though, because I don't remember exactly what she said, but we paid her in euros, like cash, and we paid a little bit extra, but also I know as an American that there's not really tipping culture, at least when I went last time in Europe. If things have changed, please let me know. There's not really tipping culture at restaurants in Europe, so we gave her a little bit more because there was however much change left over, and she just said, "That's it." And we were just like, yeah, we were confused. We thought maybe we had underpaid somehow or miscounted, and we were like, yeah. And then she smiled and said, "Thank you," and left and never came back. And we realized that she had kept all of our change. And we were just like, dang it. I don't know why people are like this. I really think it's directed towards tourists and more in specific areas. But it happened to us twice in that city. Gosh, be watching out for yourself. And yeah, honestly, that was pretty much my Paris experience. Like I said, we were only really in the city for 2 nights, and then we spent another 2 nights for the Disney stuff. So 4 days total, 2 days really doing touristy things that I feel like a lot of people clicking in would have looked into. But I hope that you enjoyed hearing about my experience. My overall rating of the city is, I do think it's worth it, but I wouldn't recommend, if you're coming from over in the Americas, I wouldn't go just to Paris. Like, if you're gonna make the trip all the way to Europe, make Paris maybe a 3 or 4 day thing would be my recommendation. And then, you could either stay in France and go experience other things, which I haven't even experienced myself, but I feel like it would give you a more well-rounded view of France. Or you're just a train ride away from another European city, whatever you want, really. I mean, Europe is all so close together. That's also going to have so much cool heritage and everything. And I really would encourage you to not spend a Europe trip on just one city if you have the means to, if you're coming from the Americas. But yeah, I do 10 out of 10 recommend Paris as part of a Europe trip. It's very iconic and it's got lots of culture. Just be watching out for yourself. There are scammers, and I do feel like there's a bit of a culture of taking advantage of tourists, and Paris is not unique in that. There's plenty of other places that we'll continue talking about as I continue this series. But yeah, watch out for yourself and have fun. Go to Paris. I think it's worth it. And as far as the timeline for this series, this is when Angel and I took a train back to Amsterdam. We'll talk about Amsterdam Part 2 in my next video, which will be coming out next Friday. I will have a video for you on Sunday as well. I had a nursing series going on. I didn't put anything out last Monday. I am hoping to maybe every other Monday or so post something nursing related, because I noticed that I did have some people enjoying that content. But I'm not gonna lie, 3 videos a week is a bit much right now, especially now that I'm trying to get ready for a big trip that's going to be in about a month that you'll be coming along for. So excited to tell you more information soon. But for today, I just want to tell you, happy Friday. Make this weekend beautiful and wonderful for yourself and those around you. And we'll be seeing each other again soon. Bye! Hey again, internet bestie. Thank you so much for sticking around to the very, very end. In case you didn't know, you are now awarded as one of my internet besties for sticking around after the credits and everything. And honestly, today, all I have to say to you is thank you so much. I continue to be so excited and happy for the growth of this channel. I have 2 videos with over 2,000 views now, and that's all thanks to you, especially somebody like you who stays around till the very, very end. So let's keep growing together. You let me know all kinds of things that you're wanting to see and be taken along for. We'll be doing international travel so soon. Like, it's gonna pass by so fast. I think there's only 4 weeks left. Oh my gosh. Anyways, just want to extend you extra good vibes and some positivity to go into your weekend with. We'll see each other again soon. Bye!